Well, removing micro-pollutants from wastewater can be a challenge for cities. But researchers at the University of Saskatchewan are testing out a new method they hope can get rid of the harmful chemicals without breaking the budget. And they'll be testing their work right here at Saskatoon's wastewater treatment plant. Marcus Brinkman is an associate professor in the School of Environment and Sustainability and the director of USask's Toxicology Center, and he joins us now in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie.
Okay, so what exactly, I feel like we talk about microplastics all the time. What are micropollutants?
Right, and I will fully admit that the terminology there is not always very clear to everyone. For microplastics, the micro refers to their small size, right? So there are tiny particles that make their way through our wastewater. Similar issues, but that's not what we're talking about today. Micropollutants, though, the micro refers to the low concentrations that we find in the water. So there are trace concentrations. Think about a grain of salt in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Oh, wow.
So very low levels, but they're still able to cause biological effects down the road, either in exposed aquatic organisms or in humans, right? So they are still a concern despite being at those low levels.
Can you give us some examples of micropollutants?
Right. Think about pharmaceuticals in particular. Pharmaceuticals, we take all sorts of over-the-counter or prescription medicines against a variety of ailments, right? And I always like to say you don't like to swallow a handful of that. Mm-hmm. It's a tiny pill. So those are very, very potent chemicals, and they're still potent to non-target organisms downstream, right? So that would be one example. But also when you think about personal care products, your shampoos, your body wash and things like that, they all contain certain fragrance chemicals and those kinds of things, additives that are there then at fairly low concentrations.
So with stuff, obviously, like our shampoo and conditioner, that's going to go into our wastewater. There's not much we can do about it. A grain of salt, though, in a swimming pool, I can't even imagine trying to get that out. So how is your team looking to remove these micropollutants from our wastewater?
Exactly. Wastewater treatment plants aren't really designed to tackle those issues, right? Mm-hmm. They're meant to remove our human waste and toilet paper, those kinds of things that are meant to go in the wastewater. There have been a variety of different methods proposed to try and remove those micropollutants, and some of them are very, very costly and difficult to do. Over in Europe, one of the things they're trying to do is essentially pass the entire wastewater of a city through a gigantic filter, an activated carbon filter. Think about it like a giant Brita filter for a whole city. And you can imagine with 90 million liters of water in a day that Saskatoon is producing, that would be very difficult. So what we're trying to do here is use something else. It's called advanced oxidation, where we essentially create reactive oxygen molecules that almost scavenge those little micropollutants and attack them in the water and then break them down into smaller chunks that our receiving environments can take care of.
So besides obviously the cost factor, what are the other advantages for the way you're doing it?
Right. The cost factor is certainly a big one. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we have one big advantage here in Saskatoon is that the wastewater treatment plant already has a big UV bank present, and that is used to sanitize the wastewater before it goes in the river, essentially make it safe so that there's no germs left in there that could potentially survive in our bodies and cause disease, right? So in combination with that particular UV bank, it's fairly easy to add advanced oxidation. So what we're currently trying to do is essentially pilot this in the lab and just try it out, and then we would have a very easy scalability here in Saskatoon.
So I guess how vital is it to your research to have a wastewater treatment plant like we do here?
It's very vital, and I will also mention that the willingness to partner with researchers at the university is not always given. Here in Saskatoon, we have almost a built-in mechanism. It's called the Research Junction. It's essentially a partnership between the city and the university where USask researchers help tackle problems for the city and with the city. And so being able to partner directly with the plant here, with the managers and the entire department is really vital because it gives us access and it also gives us real-world applications.
How long has this type of research been on scientists' minds?
I will mention in Europe and other places that are more densely inhabited, where you do directly see impacts of those micropollutants downstream on fish populations. Sometimes you have up to a dozen or so wastewater treatment plants on one little stretch of river. Mm-hmm. Here we have one on the big South Saskatchewan River, so the impacts are slightly different. So I will say those jurisdictions have been discussing advanced oxidation and other treatment methods for a long time, but here I would say it's a bit more novel.
Marcus, what stage is your research at right now?
Mm-hmm. At this point in time, we are essentially developing at the bench scale in the lab those processes, trying out different conditions, making sure that what we're trying to do at the plant scale later on actually has value and is effective. And once we are certain about that, we can then go and start with a small pilot scale, potentially stream side in the wastewater treatment plant, before hopefully, if we can demonstrate that there is value to this, doing this full scale, but that is to be seen.
Do you have a timeline for that when you want to be working in the wastewater treatment plant?
So for now, this project is going to be a year. So
okay.
we'll focus on that lab scale for the time being, and then pending the outcomes, we'll discuss further with the city.
And if this all works out the way you hope it will, could it work in other places?
Yes, this is definitely transferable, and I think if we can show that even at the scale and population density we have here in Saskatoon, that this works well, then this is definitely something that other municipalities on the prairies in particular could learn from.
In the meantime, is there anything that we can be doing to help keep these micropollutants out of our wastewater?
Excellent question. So if you think about the pharmaceutical drug example that I was mentioning, we will need to keep taking those against all sorts of different diseases and ailments. But at the same time, if you have expired drugs, the best recommendation there is to not flush them down the toilet, as a couple of folks apparently do. Some of them, the over-the-counter medications, you can safely landfill, but there's also the option to bring them back to your pharmacy, right? Those kinds of things, I think, can help us keep the wastewater as clean as possible while maintaining a healthy environment as well.
Well, Marcus, fascinating stuff this morning. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for having me.